Feel the real fear with us. Unsolved mysteries and horror stories.
Shh, close your eyes and go to sleep, or Maria Labo is coming to drag you away. First, she is gonna drink your blood, and then she's gonna rip your flesh off, piece by piece, and eat it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Shadows Prevails YouTube channel. For today's Unsolved Mystery episode, we are looking into something incredibly creepy and bizarre. There have actually been movies and TV shows made about this. A lot of people think these stories are just pure fiction made up by some writer. But no, this is actually based on a true story. And word is, it's still ongoing. You can literally just Google it and find out the truth for yourself. And hey, if you want to hear more true scary stories, make sure you hit that subscribe button for Shadows Prevails. Let's get into it. So, this remains one of the most famous urban legends in the northern Philippines, and it's basically where all these crazy vampire-related stories started. It's about a woman named Maria Labo. The story kicks off in the late 70s or early 80s. Maria was living in the Philippines with her husband and 2 kids. They were a very happy family. Money was super tight, but that didn't ruin their vibe. Her husband didn't have a great paying job, and raising 2 kids was tough, but they were genuinely happy. At that time, a ton of people from the Philippines were traveling to the Middle East, Europe, and America to work as domestic helpers or caregivers. When people in their neighborhood started going abroad and sending money back home, their families' lives completely changed. Seeing this, Maria wanted to change her family's financial situation too. So, she convinced her husband and went to Canada on a 2-year contract as an OFW, Overseas Filipino Worker. Once she got to Canada, she took a short nursing course and got a job at a private hospital. Since she was already educated, the course was pretty easy for her. She started sending money back home regularly. Maria was an amazing nurse. Everyone loved her. Her co-workers, the hospital management, and especially the patients she took care of. But then, things got weird. Out of nowhere, the local police brought an unconscious, mysterious patient into the hospital. The doctors had absolutely zero clue what was wrong with him or what disease he had. When the guy finally woke up, his behavior was so unsettling that the other nurses were literally too scared to even go into his room. Since Maria was doing such a great job, management was like, "Hey Maria, no one else wants to go in there. Can you take care of him?" Maria happily agreed. The first time she walked into his room, she noticed the guy was unusually tall and his face was dead pale. He was lying in bed, but looking away from her. Maria asked, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" Suddenly, the guy let out this terrifying, guttural roar and turned to look at her. Maria saw his pale face, but the scariest part was his eyes. She didn't even know human eyes could look that terrifying. She was absolutely frozen with fear. Honestly, if she had just turned and ran out of the room right then, she might have been okay. But before she could even process it, the guy lunged at her incredibly fast, grabbed her arm, and bit down hard. Maria screamed in intense pain, shoved the guy off her, and he fell to the floor. Hearing her scream, the doctors, nurses, and hospital staff all came running in. When a doctor checked the guy lying on the floor, they realized he was dead. But he didn't die from getting pushed. Doctors later confirmed the cause of death was a sudden heart attack. But why did he randomly have a heart attack? And why would he violently bite a sweet nurse like Maria for absolutely no reason? The whole thing was super bizarre. The hospital tried really hard to find his relatives, but nobody claimed him. So, he was put in the morgue as a John Doe and eventually buried. But from that day on, Maria Labo completely changed. She used to be this super bubbly, happy person. But suddenly she stopped talking to everyone. Right around that time, incredibly weird things started happening at that hospital. Patients randomly started dying. And the craziest part? They were finding these bodies completely drained of blood, with 2 weird puncture marks on their necks, like someone had literally sucked all the blood out of them. After about a month or a month and a half, Maria just quit her job and flew back to the Philippines. Now, thanks to the money she had sent from Canada, her family was actually doing really well. Her husband even started a pretty good business with the money, and their 2 boys were growing up. So, financially, they were totally fine, even though she didn't finish her 2-year contract. Her income had been great, because she was such a good worker. But when she got back home, Maria would just sit around all day looking incredibly gloomy. Her husband and kids were so confused. Why was she acting like this? She just sat there in silence. People say she wouldn't even talk properly to her husband and boys, and completely stopped showing affection to her kids. And every single evening, she would leave the house alone and go God knows where. She would always come back before 10 p.m. though. Whenever her husband asked her about it, she just wouldn't answer. A lot of times, she would even act aggressively toward him and refuse to say a word. Then horrifying things started happening in their local area. Just like at the hospital in Canada, dead bodies started showing up on the streets, drained of blood. But here, the horror escalated to a whole new level. The bodies weren't just drained of blood and marked with 2 bite wounds. Chunks of their flesh were missing, like they had been eaten. The people who found these bodies were absolutely traumatized. Depending on the size of the body, 1/3 or 1/4 of their flesh would just be chewed off and missing. Her husband kept warning Maria to stop going out at night because the whole town was terrified and it was dangerous. But he had absolutely no clue what the real problem was. Maria didn't care. She ignored him, kept sneaking out every evening, and coming back before 10 p.m. Then came the most horrific day imaginable. One evening, Maria's husband came home from work and found his 2 young kids dead. They had been slaughtered, and sitting at the dining table, eating the flesh right off their severed heads, was Maria Labo. Her husband was completely paralyzed with shock. I mean, what father could ever process seeing something like that? But Maria, she was their mother. How could she do this? Seeing her husband frozen in pure terror, Maria looked up, and after a moment she said, "Don't be afraid. I'll explain everything." She told him that the guy who bit her in Canada was actually a vampire. When he bit her, a virus entered her system, turning her into a vampire too. Those patients in the Canadian hospital found drained of blood? That was her doing. But she explained that after coming back to the Philippines, just drinking blood wasn't enough anymore. She craved raw flesh. Human, animal, it didn't matter. As long as it had blood and meat, she would eat it. Her husband was listening to all this in an absolute daze. But suddenly, survival instinct kicked in. He realized Maria was probably going to attack him next. He grabbed a sharp knife from the table and slashed Maria right across the face. It was a super deep cut. Maria let out a massive scream, bolted out of the house, and ran into the night. That was the last time she was ever seen. The neighbors heard the screaming and came over to find this absolute nightmare of a scene. The husband told them everything. Once the locals realized who was behind all the killings, a mob formed, and they teamed up with the police to hunt down Maria Labo. And get this, the police actually believed him. Why? Because they started looking into the events in Canada and realized that the blood-drained murders over there stopped at the exact same time the mutilations in the Philippines began. That confirmed the timeline for them. But despite massive search efforts, the cops never found her. A lot of everyday people in the Philippines believe Maria Labo is still alive today. Legend says vampires don't age, so Maria is forever stuck looking like a 40-year-old woman. She was apparently a very beautiful woman with Spanish-like features. But she still has that massive, gruesome scar across her face from where her husband slashed her, because vampire wounds supposedly don't heal. That's her signature mark. People say she wanders around different parts of the Philippines, and there are actually rumors of people who claim she has approached them, but she always hides the massive scar with her hair so people won't recognize her. This urban legend is so famous that parents in the Philippines use it to scare their kids, kind of like how we talk about the boogeyman, skinwalkers, or demons here in the US. They tell their kids, "Go to sleep or Maria Labo will come get you." But a huge amount of people believe this is 100% real. And they believe it because, even today, blood-drained, half-eaten bodies are still randomly found in different parts of the Philippines. Because vampires age incredibly slowly, locals believe she's out there in remote villages, sucking the blood and eating the flesh of humans and animals. Since there's no concrete, physical proof you can hold in your hand, it's officially classified as an urban legend or folklore. And that's exactly why it's been turned into TV shows and movies. Maria Labo is literally a legendary name. Whether she's really out there or how much of this is fact, we don't have hard proof. But tons of people still swear she is alive and roaming around. Guys, think about this. How did that first guy in Canada even become a vampire? How did he end up there? Nobody knows. The origin of all this, and exactly how that guy turned, is completely shrouded in mystery. Maria Labo's story remains an absolute, unsolved mystery. We've actually covered a few other vampire-related mysteries on this channel before. It's a fascinating topic. Usually, when we think about vampires existing in the real world, we just brush it off as pure superstition. But with Maria Labo, is it just a myth, or did this really happen? We can't say for sure if vampires exist. But have you ever thought about it? When you step outside at night in the dark, who knows? Maybe Maria Labo, or someone she bit who is still alive, is just roaming around out there. They could literally bite us, and we could become vampires too. But since we don't have 100% verified, documented proof, we have to leave this in the unsolved mystery files. Here in the US, we have so many vampire movies. Do you guys think they are based purely on fiction? Or is there some actual dark reality behind them? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, share it with your friends, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next video. That's all for today's episode. To everyone listening, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and have a good night. Goodbye.